Hey loves, welcome back to my channel. I am Ijoma, and in today's video we are going to learn how to sew an Edwardian corset. We will start with the pattern drafting first. So this corset, the half length is usually off the normal half length. Like the half length is not at the normal half length, it always comes below the half length. So we are going to do our pattern drafting. I have my full gown pattern here. We are going to cut out the full gown. I have the front and the back pattern, so you can see the back, the chest line, half length, hip line, knee line, and full length. So first of all, we'll keep that back pattern aside. We will start with the front. I had to divide this video into two because I need to explain very well. So for the front pattern, we have our chest line, our bust point, our under bust, our half length, hip line, knee line, and the full length. So I will show you guys the measurements I use. My bust point is 10, so 2 inches above the 10 is 8, and that is my chest line. Then my under bust is 13, half length is 17, my normal half length is 17, the hip line is 27, the knee line is 37, and the full length of this gown is supposed to be 62, but this pattern paper is not up to 62. It stopped at 50, so I added plus 12 inches so that when I'm cutting out, I'll remember to add 12 inches to the full length. That is the reason why I wrote the plus 12 inches there. So first thing that we are going to do is to get our dart line. Our dart line is 4 inches. If your own is 5 or 4.5, you will mark that. You will mark it at the half length, at the under bust, at the bust point, at the chest line, and around the chest line I will go up by 1.5. I'm actually making an off-shoulder corset, but I want to add the yoke to this so that people that want to add yoke to their own will not find it too hard. So I went up by 1.5 above my chest line so that the corset to cover my bust very well. So the dart line will stop at 24 inches. You know, if you're making a blouse, the dart line normally stops at 24, so this dart line will stop at 24 inches. If you want to take it down to the hip line, fine, but 24 inches is very okay. So you can see where my dart line stopped. So at my chest line, I will come in by 0.5. That is from the center line. I'll come in by 0.5, and that is where my sweetheart neckline will stop at. This yoke will have a sweetheart neckline. It is just like our normal corset, but I added just few twists to it. So after that, I'll label this yoke. This is our yoke. So the next thing that I'm going to do is to take out 1 inch at the under bust of this corset. I will take out 1 inch at the right side and 1 inch at the left side. Then I will connect them down to our 24 inches line. I'll connect them down to our 24 inches line, and you can see the way I connected them. Then I will go ahead and connect to the bust point. I'll connect to the bust point, so the shape of our corset is coming out gradually. Then after doing this, at the chest line, I will take out 1 inch on each side of this dart line, 1 inch on this side and 1 inch on the other side. So I'll go ahead and connect them to my bust point, and the shape of our corset is coming out already. So for the side corset, the distance between my bust point to my under bust is 3 inches. For the side cup, I want to get the side cup. The distance between my bust point and my under bust is 3. So I can add half an inch to it, making it 3.5 and mark. But I marked 4 because I want my cup to be a bit big. I want it to be big a bit, so I added 1 inch to what I got and I marked. Usually I add half an inch to it. So at the 0.5 line we marked at the chest line, we will bring it down to the bust point to extend that 0.5 line to the bust point and then connect to our under bust. and our cups are out now. So the next thing that we are going to do is to take our bust measurement, our waist measurement, our hip measurement, and our knee measurement. So my bust is 34, but I want to make it 36 so that it will look real and very slim. So I'll measure 36 divided by 4 plus 2 inches seam allowance. Then at the half length, I'll mark my waist. I will take out, you calculate the that space you have there. So I measured, I have 1.5 inches, so I will divide my waist by 4. My waist is 28 normally. It's 28 inches, but I want to bring it down to 25. I want to snatch it very well, so I took out 3 inches from my waist measurement, making it 25. So I divided the 25 by 4, and I added my 1.5 for my darts and 2 inches for the normal seam allowance. So my hip is 40 divided by 2 is 10, by 4 is 10 plus 2 inches seam allowance. Then I'll connect from my waist to my hip. So at the knee length, I will divide my hip by 4, and that is 10. So I will mark that 10 there without adding any allowance. So that 10 inches is what I will take down to the full length of this gown. And this gown that I'm making is a straight cut gown. So this is all for the front for now. Then the next thing that I will do is to get our new half length. We know that Edwardian corsets, their half lengths are not at the normal half length. So I will cut off the extra we have on the pattern paper before I will draft out this. So this is what we have right now. The next thing that we are going to do is to determine where we want this half length to start from. So I want it to start at 4.5 inches below the normal half length. My normal half length is 17. Then this new half length will stop at 21 inches instead of 17. 21.5, though I changed that later. So I will take out the 2 inches that I added for my seam allowance before. You know that I added 2 inches seam allowance to this gown, so I want to mark them out so that I will know where this half length will start from exactly. So I'm measuring the 2 inches, and I will go ahead and connect all of them so that I will know where this basque or this new half length will start from exactly, so that I will not make any mistake while joining. So this is what I have now, and I have indicated where I want this new half length to start from. So from there, I will mark a triangular shape to meet my hip line. This half length will be triangular. It will have a basque shape, and it will stop at the hip line. If you want it to stop above the hip line, fine, but the hip line is just okay. So I will also extend my dart line, and that will be all for now. So after that, I felt like the 4.5 is too low. I came up by half an inch, making it 4 inches below the half length. So this is the new basque now. This is the new basque measurement. So I'll go ahead and cancel out the places that we will cut out, so that we will not make any mistake while cutting out. So all these places that I'm shading right now are the places that we will cut out. So this is for the front. I will keep this front pattern aside, and we will do our back pattern. So the back pattern, we have just the chest line, the half length, the hip line, the knee line, and the full length. And I also added a zipper allowance to this. I added a zipper allowance to this back pattern. We will start from here. So First of all, I want to bring down the neckline. So from the chest line, I came down by 2 inches. I want the neckline to be curvy. I want it to come down a bit. I want it to be below the chest line. So after that, you go out ahead and mark our dart line. That is 4 inches. And remember, our dart line will stop at 24 inches, if possible 22, because this is the back pattern. But let's just mark 24 inches. So this 24 inches is where our back dart line will stop at. So at the half length, I will take out half an inch on both sides for the dart. This is if you want to add a dart to yours, but if you have been following me, I don't normally use darts for my back corset and they work. So if you want to take out that, you will take out half an inch on both sides of the half length and you will mark. Then after that, you connect it to the 24 inches line that we have. So that is it for the dart line. The next thing is to take my bust measurement divided by 4 plus 2 inches seam allowance. Then at the half length, I will divide my waist by 4. My waist is 25 divided by 4 plus 1 inch for that we took out. We took out half an inch on both sides, plus 1 inch for that and another 2 inches for our normal seam allowance. Then at the hip, we'll divide our hip by 4. At the knee line, we'll divide the hip by 4 and mark exactly what we got, just like the way we did it to the front pattern. So right now, we'll go ahead and cut out the excess that we have around the pattern. And after doing that, we will determine where we want our basque or our new half length to start from. So the new half length will start at 4 inches below the half length, just like we did to the front, so that all of them will align. And I will connect it to the back. I will connect it to the hip line, and it will stop before this. It will stop at the zipper allowance. It will not cross the zipper allowance. This basque will not cross the zipper allowance. So you can see what we have right there. I don't want you guys to get confused. So for the zipper, if you want, you can lace this corset down to the hip line, but if you want to add a zipper to it, you come up a bit. Like from the hip line, you will come up a bit. You will determine where you want your zip to stop at. So my zipper, I want it to stop at 4 inches above the hip line. You can see where I marked. This is where our zipper allowance will stop. This is where our zipper will stop at. So I'll go ahead and cut out the zipper allowance for the upper part of the corset, because we are going to lace that side. So I don't want us to get confused. I hope you understand what I did. If you want, you will not add zipper to this dress, but if you want to add zipper to it, you will come up above the hip line. You determine where you want. It can even stop at the half length if you want. So this, see, I came up by 4 inches above the hip line, and that is where our zipper will stop. So I want the lacing to have a triangular shape at the back. I want the lacing to have a triangular shape at the back. So I went in by 4 inches from the neckline, and that is almost at the dart line. It is at the dart line. So I will give it a triangular shape. 4 inches from the neckline, I will mark a triangular line to stop at the new zipper allowance, at the place where the zipper allowance to stop at. So I will cut out our yoke for now, and this is what we are left with. So you can see that triangular place that I marked. I will shade it. We will cut it out. The reason I did this is that, so after lacing the back, after lacing it, it will have that triangular shape at the back. I don't know if you understand what I'm trying to say. So we'll go ahead and cut out the top of the gown. This is the corset part. We'll go ahead and cut it from the new half length. You can see some parts of the top has a zipper allowance, while the other parts will carry a lacing. You understand, right? Some parts of the top has a zipper allowance, while some will be laced. So when you join, the zipper allowance will continue with the down part of this, the skirt part of this gown. So we'll keep that aside. Back to the front pattern. Right now, we'll go ahead and cut off our yoke. Like I said, I am making an off-shoulder gown. I will go ahead and cut off the yoke, and then I will cut out our half length. You can see the new half length I marked. I will cut it out, and then we'll cut out the corset. And after cutting, please remember to label your curves so that you will not misplace them. So after cutting out the cup, you can decide to close this upper part. I want to close it before transferring it to the fabric. I want to close it so that I will not have too many pieces. So I will go ahead and use my gum to close it. I don't have a masking tape. I will use a gum and a paper to close it. So you can see the skirt parts, they are equal, except that the back has a zipper allowance. They are equal. Their half length started at the same place. Their full length, everything is equal. So cross check to make sure that you have exactly what you want. So after this, I will keep the skirt part aside. So back to the front part. I told you guys that I will close that area. I want to close it before transferring it to my fabric. I don't have a masking tape, so I had to use a gum and a paper. So after closing this, working with it will be very easy for you, because you just have one piece for your front. You will not have to join multiple pieces. So right now, this is the gum that I have, my liquid gum right here. I will use this paper. I will apply the gum on the paper. I'm doing this so that we will not take out any allowance on the paper while closing the dart. So after applying the gum on this new paper, I will go ahead and place the pieces on them, on the paper. So this is the side piece and this is the center piece. So if you don't have a masking tape, this is also another way of closing a dart. So you can see that I have closed this dart right now, and I will go ahead and cut off the excess paper that we have. So after this, I will go ahead and cut out all these pieces on my fabric, and remember to add allowance at the places where you're supposed to add allowance. I will use a lace fabric for the down parts and a crepe for the corset. Then the backup will also be a lace. This is the front, the back, and is the both of them. So guys, I will upload the sewing tutorial tomorrow or on Wednesday. So thank you guys so much for watching, and please do not forget to subscribe so that when I upload the sewing tutorial you will be notified. Thank you guys so much for watching, and see you in my next video. Bye.